Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyacharya Shotarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading from the Caitanya Caritamrita, Madhya 12, the cleansing of the Gundicha margin. Okay, we're halfway through the purport. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandra Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. That was text 2. All glories to Gaura Chandra, all glories to Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, all glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 194. Purport. Actually, this discussion between... Let me read from the beginning. 194. Translation. One who participates... Well, maybe better. Okay, from text 188. Sri Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu sat side by side when prasadam was being distributed. This engaged in a type of mock fighting. First, Advaita Acharya said, "I'm sitting with an unknown mendicant, and because I'm eating with him, I do not know what kind of destination is waiting." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the renounced order of life. Consequently, he does not recognize discrepancies. As a matter of fact, the sannyasi is not at all affected by eating the food from anywhere and everywhere. According to the Shastras, there is no discrepancy in the sannyasis eating in another's house. But for a householder brahmana, this kind of eating is faulty. It is not proper for a householder to dine with those whose previous birth, family, character, and activities are unknown. Nityananda Prabhu immediately refuted Advaita Acharya, saying, "You are a teacher of impersonal monism, and the monism conclusion is that is a great hindrance to progressive pure devotional service. One who participates in your impersonal monistic philosophy does not accept anything but the one Brahman." Purport. I'll read all the purport. The impersonalist monist does not believe that God is the only subject of worship, the only object of worship, and the living entities are his eternal servants. The impersonalists do not believe this. According to the monist, God and the devotee may be separate in the material state, but when they are spiritually situated, there is no difference between them. This is called Advaita Siddhanta, the conclusion of the monist. The monists consider devotional service of the Lord to be material activity, and therefore they consider such devotional activities to be the same as karma, or fruit of activities. This monistic mistake is a great stumbling block on the road of devotional service. Actually, the discussion between Advaita Chandra and Nityananda was a mock fight to serve as a great instruction for all devotees. Sri Nityananda Prabhu wanted to point out that Advaita Acharya was a pure devotee. He did not agree with the monistic conclusion that the conclusion of devotional service is Vedanti tat vitas tat jnanam abhayam brahmaniti paramititi bhagavaniti sabjati. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11. Absolute knowledge consists of Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. The conclusion is not the same as that of the monist. Srila Advaita Acharya was given the title of Acharya because he spread the bhakti cult, not the philosophy of monism. The true conclusion of Advaita Siddhanta expressed at the beginning in the Caitanya Caritamrita, ID 1.3, is not the same as the philosophy of the monists. There, Advaita Siddhanta means Advaya Jnana, or oneness in variety. Actually, Srila Nityananda Prabhu was praising Srila Acharya, Advaita Acharya, through the friendly mock fighting, and he was giving the Vaishnavas the conclusion in terms of the Bhagavatam's conclusive word, Vedanti tat tat vidha. This is also the conclusion of the mantra, a mantra in the Chandogya Upanishad, Ekam Evadvaitam. The devotee knows that there is oneness in diversity. The mantras of the Shastras do not support the monistic conclusion of the impersonalists, nor does Vaishnava philosophy accept the impersonalism without variety. Brahman is the greatest. He who includes everything. And that is oneness. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:7, Mataha Paradatnanyat Kinchita Siddhananjaya. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there is no truth superior to me, to Krishna himself. He is the spiritual substance because every category emanates from him. And thus, he is simultaneously one with and different from all the other categories. The Lord is always engaged in varieties of spiritual activity, but the monists cannot understand this spiritual variety. The conclusion is that although the powerful and the power are one and the same, within the energy of the power there is varieties. In those varieties there is a distinction between the different parts of one's personal self, between the parts of they accept, in other words, there is always variety in the categories, which are understood as knowledge, the knowledge and the knowable. Due to external existence of knowledge, the knower and the knowable, though devotees everywhere know about the eternal existence of the form, name, qualities, pastimes, and entourage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devotees never agree with the monastic preaching of oneness, and this one adheres to the conceptions of oneness, the knowledgeable and the knowledge, there is no possibility of understanding variety, nor can one taste the transcendental bliss at every moment. The philosophy of monism is an adjustment of the Buddhist philosophy of voidism. In the mock fight with Srila Advaita Acharya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu put up this type of monistic philosophy. Vaishnavas certainly accept Lord Sri Krishna as the ultimate one, and that which is without Krishna is called Maya, or that which has no existence. External Maya is exhibited in two phases: Jiva Maya, the living entities, and Guna Maya, the material world. In the material world there is Prakriti, material nature, and Pradhana, ingredients of material nature. However, for one who becomes Krishna conscious, the distinction between material and spiritual does not exist. An advanced devotee like Prahlad Maharaj sees everything as one, Krishna. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.4.37, Krishna graha grihitatma na vedajan jagat edarasham. One who is in full Krishna consciousness does not distinguish between material things and spiritual. He takes everything to be related to Krishna and therefore spiritual. By Abhadya Jnana Darshan, Srila Advaita Acharya has glorified pure devotional service. Srila Nityananda Prabhu sarcastically condemned the philosophy of the impersonalist monists and praised the correct non-dual philosophy of Sri Advaita Acharya. Yeah, the devotees are accepting Achintaveda Veda Tattva, that is, one with and different from. Last week I was explaining, when I first saw the devotees in London, and they were in one club there, nightclub, and the devotees at that time were very popular because of the Hare Krishna record, and everything was becoming Krishna. Great interest in Indian philosophy, music, and also the chanting of the Maha Mantra. This is something new in the Western country. We've never heard these mantras before. We don't have any mantras. So it was new, it was popular with the young people at that time. And Mukunda Maharaj, someone told me later on it was Mukunda Maharaj. He got us to chant the Maha Mantra and do the Swami step, left over right, right over left. And you can clap your hands. And so he was teaching us how we can chant and dance Hare Krishna. So then he said in the lecture, he spoke for a few minutes. He said that we do everything for the one. All of our activities is done for the one. So this is what we are doing. We're dancing for the one. We're eating for the one. We're singing for the one. So we do everything for the one. And I was thinking at that time, well, what's the difference between this group and the other groups? They're all doing it for the one. Everybody is accepting the one. And what's the difference between these groups? So anyway, they got us to dance and chant, and we became purified. Anyway, a few weeks later, we were in India, and then we began to learn a lot more. We met the devotees, and we're doing everything for the one. So Nobody really knew what the one was. For most people it was impersonal. The oneness is just monism, philosophy. Impersonal. There's no personality, there's no form, quality, fame, pastime. Wherever there are these things, then it means it's material. This is the Mayavad philosophy. They're not understanding that. Aham Brahmasmi, that's okay, I am Brahman, I am pure spirit soul, but you have to go further, the monists have to go further in spiritual life and understand that Brahman does have knowledge. He does. Brahman is knowledge as eternal. Brahman does have form. And Brahman can reciprocate with everyone. So to reciprocate means two. If you want to love someone, it takes two. I love you, you love me. God is love, so there must be a person he loves. But this in the Shankara philosophy, this is, or in the Mayavad philosophy, this is
Denied.
huh?
Denied.
Yes, this is denied, thank you. Denied. They deny that there is anything beyond this. So philosophy doesn't take them beyond that, but it goes further than that. I can't remember where this is from. I'm quoting somewhere, but I can't remember. But it sounded like a conversation between Mahaprabhu and Prakashananda Saraswati. And then Mahaprabhu converted all those sannyasis and other people from the from Mayavad philosophy. He preached in Benares, which is the capital at that time of the Mayavad. He was preaching to them and converted them. Then he said, in our philosophy, everything is one ultimately, everything is one. We're coming to that one absolute truth. But in our heart, we are feeling there's something else also. He said there are a few of us who are actually self-realized. These are sannyasis here. They're actually self-realized. But those who are self-realized, also there's a feeling, simultaneously they're understanding themselves, aham brahmasmi, and feeling Brahman in everyone. But simultaneously there's a feeling that there's something else, there's something more also. But because our philosophy, the Shankaracharya, it denies anything else. If anything else is there, it must be a duality. There's no duality in Brahman. So if there's something else there, then it's not Brahman. Because it creates a duality. So we cannot accept this philosophy of Shankara. We accept it because it's all we know, and we're following that process. But we cannot deny the feeling in our heart that there is something more. So we can see from this statement that the self-realized persons will understand, come to the conclusion. Because he came both by feeling there is something more. But the one who's not self-realized, he hasn't got that feeling. He will just be stuck on the philosophy. Brahman is one, there is no duality. So, but he said, now you're preaching, you're telling us that there is something else, and that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is your relationship with Him. That is your love for Him. That is what it is missing in the Shankara philosophy. So these are the truth. It's pointing out here, Vedanti tat vitas tat jnanam Brahmaniti Paramatmati Bhagavaniti Sabjati, that the absolute truth is in three features, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So they're saying, so therefore they could easily surrender to Mahaprabhu in the process of bhakti. And so he converted all these sannyasis in Benares. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, chapter 14 or 15, verse 14 or 15. Krishna talks about Shara Akshara. There are two kinds of persons, two Brahmans. There is a conditioned Brahman, like the ordinary jiva, conditioned soul. And there's a liberated Brahman, those who attained mukti. And so these two types of Brahman are there. And then Krishna says, then there is another Brahman, Parabrahman or Paramatma, who descends and he maintains the other Brahmanas. So now we've got three Brahmanas. We've got Brahman. We got the conditioned jiva, he's conditioned Brahma. We got the liberated Brahman, and we got the Parabrahman or super soul. So we understand that I'm a spirit, you're a spirit. We're one. But then he talks of another spirit who maintains the other two spirits. That is the Paramatma. So that's difficult to understand. Their philosophy, and I was looking in my Bhagavad Gita. I had a couple of Bhagavad Gitas that, not Prabhupada's, unfortunately, at that time. And when they come to that verse, there are two classes, 15, 14, 15, 15. There are two classes of men, Brahmins. In purport, they don't say anything, because they cannot say anything, because it's so clear. There are three Brahmins they're dealing with. So, and then in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had said, okay, the Mayavadis have got a problem now. They can deal with two Brahmanas, a conditioned Brahman and a liberated Brahman. When we become liberated, we'll become Brahman. But the third Brahman, as building this, he's different from the other Brahmanas. How can it be so? Creates a duality. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur said, then there is another Brahman. That is Bhagavan, who is beyond both the liberated jivas and the conditioned jivas, and also from beyond the Parabrahman, and also different from those other Brahman forms of the Lord, like Nrsingadev, Varaha. He's different from, and therefore he is celebrated in this world as Purushottam. Purushottam means above others. Purusha is a person, Uttama means up. That person who is above all others. So that's Krishna. Krishna likes this name very much, Purushottam. He's proud of that name. Bhagavan, Purush. So that 15, Bhagavad Gita 15, that's called the Trishloki Gita. It gives the essence of the Vedas in those three slokas there. So because it's presenting the absolute truth, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So, anyway, when I was reading Bhagavad Gita, this part we couldn't understand that. How can there be three Brahmans? So when I read this in Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita and read that verse, Prabhupada gave a definition of oneness. What is oneness? Which I had never heard before. And usually there is no explanation. Nobody makes any difference. because it's one. You can't do much. You can't do much if everything is one. So Prabhupada says in this purport, this is 16, chapter 15, text 16. Avimu purusho loke kashara shakshara ivaja kashara sarva bhutani kutashto kashara uchati. There are two classes of being, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible. Means they're temporary, the body. And in the spiritual world, everything is infallible, they're eternal. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that the living entities are eternal, separated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhuta. And the Sanskrit word given here is Kashara Sharvani Bhutani. It means that they are fallible. Means they are fallible, conditioned soul. And those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Means they're eternal. They're understanding their eternal nature. The fallible are subject to changing body, but infallible means you're not subject to change. You're infallible. Perfect. And now this is the line that got me, because I was always looking for the one. Prabhupada says here quite clearly. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity. And it kind of just, whoa. It just, Prabhupada answered it. The whole thing, we're all searching for the one. So many people looking for the one, searching for the one. And Prabhupada gives it in one sentence with the definition of it. Otherwise, there was no definition, practically, except bliss of Brahman or something. Outside of that, there was no explanation or much understanding. It's a blissful experience, a transcendental experience, feeling. So oneness does not mean that there is no individuality, but that there is no disunity. They're all agreeable with the purpose of creation. So this one really got me when I read Prabhupada's Gita, and this really convinced me. Some Prabhupada's summary now is what is oneness. Does not mean they don't have individuality, that there's no disunity. There is harmony. How this world comes into being, how Vishnu is the Supreme Lord of this universe, that's understanding. Everybody understands that this is the function, that Lord, it is Vishnu to be known throughout the Vedas. In the sloka before, Krishna says, I am seated in everyone's heart. From me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of Vedanta. Krishna himself speaking here. And because I know Vedanta, I am the knower of the Vedanta and I am the compiler of Vedanta. Therefore I will speak Vedanta to you, Arjuna, in 3 verses. Then he gives these 3 verses. 2 classes of living entities, the Shara Akshara and the... Besides these 2, this is 17, besides these 2, the Shara, the Akshara, the conditioned soul and the liberated soul, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered into the worlds and is maintaining them. I cannot do that. You cannot do that. You cannot say you are maintaining all these worlds. But Krishna says he can do that. That's why he's different. He's the Parabrahman. He's the Paramatma. He is the maintaining. We are the maintained. That is the difference. Krishna says, because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I'm the greatest, I'm celebrated both in this world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. Sri Shloka Gita. Summarized everything. Krishna says, I am to be known through the Vedas, because I know the Veda, therefore I'll instruct it. I can instruct you, because I have this knowledge. Anyway, like this, Mahaprabhu was defeating all of the atheists and the Mayavadis. The strong tendency of a Mayavadi. Prabhupada said practically everyone in the beginning of spiritual life, there is a leaning, there is a turning to Mayavad philosophy. That is quite natural. If you don't have a teacher or a proper guru, by your own speculation, you will come to this point practically of everything. Brahman is a universal mind or spirit, assumed spirit, something like that. You will come to this, some kind of oneness aspect that is quite natural. We're used to thinking in our terms, scientific terms, that everything is coming from a point. It has to come from a point. We say everything is coming from Goloka. Goloka means Radha and Krishna doing their rasa dance with billions of gopis, 9 lakhs of cows more, looking after all the cows there, all the forests, all the different relationships with the parents and the friends, girlfriends. That's the beginning of creation. And everything else expands from that. It's not from one point, everything expands. So scientists, they can't grasp this. It's a logical conclusion you will come with. Everything is coming from one point. It's not Bahushaka. Hare Krishna. So devotees never agree with this philosophy of oneness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you hear this, listen to this philosophy, especially Shankaracharya's philosophy, you hear the explanation. Yeah, Mahaprabhu said that if anybody takes to the understanding, tries to understand his Shankaracharya's philosophy, what did he say?
He's doomed.
He's doomed. Yes, he is doomed. He's doomed. His heart will be cracked and he'll be doomed forever by hearing this Mayavad philosophy. Doomed. Yeah, so thank goodness Prabhupada came and defeated all the philosophers. Sarikapasya, yeah. Or Shankaracharya.
Very dangerous. Dangerous?
Huh?
Very dangerous?
Very dangerous. Very dangerous. But Prabhupada said, in my books, I put Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead on almost every page. Therefore, nobody can refute. I put it every page. Yeah, so like Sabhabhuma Bhattacharya. He was living here in Navadvip before Nimai was born. And then he said he could have that vision. He was Brihaspati, priest of the demigods. And he said, why do I want to stay here in Navadvip? And I'll drown Nimai in his dry philosophical speaking, because Sabhabhuma Bhattacharya was considered the chief at that time, the head of the Brahmana community there. He was the head. So, and he was very knowledgeable. He knew this science, this logic that was practiced by the Brahmins from Madhya Lila. And they had an exclusive monopoly on it because nobody could write down. You can go and learn there, but you can't write. So they knew, they remembered it, and they could teach it. So the logicians like to be on top of everything, and the best. So nobody could write it down there. So, but they had it. They remembered it. They were Shrutidaras. And so he said, why do I want to stay? I'm the chief here. Everyone will come to my school and learn from me. And I'm going to drown Nimai in this false Naya logic, path of logic. So better I'll go to Jagannath Puri. And if I'm an actual devotee, then Mahaprabhu will come here and see me. So all that happened. And he went to Puri, and then Mahaprabhu came and met him. And then he converted even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also, who was the leader of the Mayavadis at that time. So these are so nice because Mayavad is so deeply rooted in. When we hear these about how they were defeated by the Mayavad philosophy was defeated. Otherwise we would be struggling. He mentioned, but it's what did it say? It's an offspring of Buddhist philosophy, Mayavad philosophy. It's an offspring of Buddhist because the Lord Buddha came and spread this philosophy of monism. Not monism. Voidism. And under the instruction of Krishna, Lord Shiva, Krishna instructed Lord Shiva that you go to the world and preach this philosophy of monism. It's similar to Buddhism. Yeah, at that time Buddhism was being spread very, 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 very like wildfire. It was all over the eastern continents. And Krishna told Lord Shiva, you go down and preach a philosophy similar to Buddhism, but instead of being zero, there is something. And the followers of the Vedas that's right. They were using the Vedas for animal killings, for killing animals. And they said, look, and Buddha came and was going to come and say, look, the philosophy is the Vedic says the Vedas say we can kill animals. Look, it says here, this is our Vedas. It says you can kill animals at a certain time. So then Buddha said, okay, then forget the Veda. He was very popular, very powerful. Forget the Veda, just follow me. So he tricked them. Because they followed him. He is Krishna. So they're following Krishna. Become followers of Krishna. But anyway, Lord Shiva came down with Parvati and he told Parvati that the Lord has instructed me to come and preach this philosophy. To take people away from meat eating. That was the idea about it. They were using Vedas as an excuse. So take them away from Buddhist philosophy and present another philosophy which is supported by the Vedas. So okay, Brahman is there. Om, and Brahman is there. Yeah, so then Lord Shiva came, and he defeated the Buddhist philosophy. He defeated it. He was only about 32 years old, I think, at that time. Young man. Whole of Asia defeated it with a strong philosophy. Yeah, then he came down, he established philosophy, then it says that then after that, first Buddha came, he established the philosophy to take them away from meat eating. Then Shankaracharya was the incarnation coming, He was the incarnation of Lord Shiva to bring them back to Veda, but to forget the animal part of it. Bring them similar to the... So you can quote Veda, you bring them back to Veda, but you're just concentrating on Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. And then he drove Buddhism out like that. Then Lord Chaitanya came and presented the perfect philosophy, the Chinta Veda Veda Tattva, and defeated the Mayavada philosophy. So it's a history of the presentation of the religion of the world, how it was changed by the Lord's instruction. The philosophy of monism is an adjustment of the Buddhist philosophy of voidism. So in the mock fight, Sri Advaita Acharya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu were refuting this type of monistic philosophy. The Vaishnavas certainly accept Lord Sri Krishna as the ultimate one, and that which is without Krishna is called Maya, or that which has no existence. So we have one, Krishna, and he has his energies, Maya. So like this, they were jokingly, but they were establishing the actual truth in their joking, Advaita and Nityananda. So I'll continue, text 195. So Nityananda continued, Prabhu continued, "You are such a monist, and I am eating beside you. I do not know how my mind will be affected in this way." Purport. One develops his consciousness according to society and association. As Lord Nityananda admits, a devotee should be very careful when associating with those who are non-devotees. When asked by a householder devotee what the behavior of a devotee should be, Lord Chaitanya immediately replied, "Asat Sangatag E Vaishnavachar Sri Sangha Eka Sadhu Krishna Bhakta Ara." CC Madhya Lila 2287. A Vaishnava, a devotee, should simply disregard intimate association with non-devotees. In his Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami has described the symptoms of intimate relationship in this way. Tadati pratiguri nati guyam akyati prachati bhukti bhojati chaiva sad viktam pritilakshanam. The word bhukti bhojate indicate that one should eat with devotees. One should be careful to eat. Avoid eating food offered by non-devotees. Indeed, a devotee should be very strict and not accept food from non-devotee. Eating food specially prepared in restaurants or hotels or on aeroplanes should avoid them. Sri Nityananda Prabhu's reference in this connection is meant to emphasize that one should avoid eating with Mayavadis and covered Mayavadis like Sahajiyas, like Sahajiya Vaishnavas who are materially affected.
Eating with devotees? Eating with devotees only.
Eating with devotees. That was a big part of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan mission. Dancing, chanting, then
I have one question.
eating with the devotees.
If devotee stay in the family is not devotee. If he not take with family food, is fighting. For example, everybody angry. What can do in this situation? If he go outside, also the family very angry.
Depends on his strength. If he's a young man, he hasn't facility outside, he's dependent on the family more or less, then he can stay at home and just tolerate He can become made vegetarian. That I don't mind, is it? You can become vegetarian. So don't eat the meat, but you can stay at home and eat the non-veg. It may be mixed now and again because they're cooking for it. You can do that. You can just tolerate the inconvenience, but pray to Krishna to please save. This is his situation. My family meat eaters. Anyway, slowly, you should try to get them to at least offer their food. What to do in such a situation if you're dependent on them. But you have to tolerate and go on and hope in the future by your association in the house you can make a little altar. You can do a little bit of worship. Don't tell them what you're doing, but anyway, they will ask, and you become a vegetarian. And what can you do? You see? Just like Pishima, Prabhupada's sister. And Prabhupada would often ask her, how are you going? How in your married life? How is everything? Husband is okay? And she would all say yes. Then he found out later they were meat eating. Pishima wasn't, but she was cooking it because her husband was a non-devotee, a non-veg. And the wife's position, she was made to cook. So she would cook his... And Prabhupada says she's never said anything. She tolerated all that. She didn't even tell me, even when I asked her. She's so chaste to her husband. But as time goes on, and as a result of all that, and she left her body here chanting Hare Krishna. Please bless me, I can go back to Vaikuntha, she would say. And very quickly she went back. But she had to cook for her husband. That was her service. And if we're too fanatic, then they think they're all crazy. Everybody's crazy. Hare Krishna people. So you have to be very tolerant. Otherwise, if you're strong, you can just leave home. I'm asking just to do a couple of things, offer your foodstuffs, don't eat meat, and that's more or less all I'm asking you. Otherwise, I'll leave. Okay, should we go on? 96. Thus, they both went on talking and praising one another. Although their praise appeared negative, for it appeared as if they were exchanging ill names. Hey matadui jani kari balavai bali rajas tuti kara duni nekat galagali tabi prabhu sarva Vaishnava Namalana Maha Prasada Dina Maha Amrita Sinchinta Chiya. Thereafter, calling all the Vaishnavas, Caitanya Mahaprabhu distributed Mahaprasadam as if sprinkling nectar. At that time, the mock fighting between Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu became more and more delicious. 1/3 of Mahaprabhu's movement, dancing, chanting, taking prasad. And non-devotees are, when they see this book, and they, what is it all about? What are they doing here? Trying. Tabi Mahaprabhu Subha Nijya Bhakti Gana Shabakari Sri Hasta Tila Malya Chandani. After taking their lunch, all the Vaishnavas stood up and chanted the holy name of Hari, and the resounding noise filled the upper and lower planetary systems. Hari, Hari!
Hari.
Tabi Mahaprabhu Shaba Nikta Bhakta Jnana Shaba Kari Sri Hasta Dila Maya Chanda. After this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered flower garlands and sandalwood pulp to all of the devotees, associates, all of his personal associates. He looks after the devotees very nicely.
It's so amazing that the Lord is serving his servants.
He's come in the mood of servant. And Tabipari Shaka Swarupati Shatajana Gira Bhitiri Kali Prashada Bhojana. Seven persons headed by Sri Damodar, who were engaged in distributing prasadam to all the others, took their meals within the room. Prabhurer Avesh Govinda Rakila Dhari Sayana Haridasa Kichudilana. Govinda saved some remnants of food left by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and kept them carefully. People would come and take it. National sport, stealing Mahaprasad, stealing. The fully independent Supreme Personality of Godhead performs various types of pastimes. The pastimes of washing and cleansing the Gaudincha is one of them. Aridina Jagannathera Netrot Shabanama Mahotsava Haila Bhakatera Pranashamana. The next day marked the performance of the festival of Netra Utsav. This great festival was the life and soul of the devotees. Purport. After the bathing ceremony of Jagannath Puri during the fortnight before the Rath Yatra ceremony, the body of Lord Jagannath having been washed, needs painting. This is known as Angorag. The Netra Utsav festival performed gorgeously in the early morning of the Nava Jovana day. Nava Jovana, Jagannath getting a new dress. When they see Jagannath after the first time after that, they call Nava Jovana, Netra Utsavam. Seeing Jagannath after all that long time in separation, and now they're all freshly painted. The Netra Utsav festival performed gorgeously early in the morning of Navayuvanam day. The Angurag starts 15 days, fortnight before, that's right, painting the Jagannath deities. The life and soul of the devotees. Pakshadi nadu kiloka prabhura dashani dashana kriya loke sukapali yamane. Everyone was unhappy for a fortnight because they could not see the deity of Lord Jagannath. Upon seeing the Lord at the festival, the devotees were very happy. So this Angarag, the painting of the deities, takes place 2 weeks before because there's no darshan of Lord Jagannath, so the devotees were missing Lord Jagannath for a long time. The Mahaprabhu would often go to Alanath to see the deity there of Alanath, to dispel the feeling of the separation from Lord Jagannath. He would go to Alanath and absorb himself in memories of Krishna Anyway, now the service has been done. Lord Jagannath has been maintained by repainting, and any other repair work that has to go on goes on at that time. Mahaprabhu Sukhi Lana Sabda Bhakti Gana Jagannatha Darshana Karali Gamana. On this occasion, greatly happy, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took all the devotees with him and visited the Lord in the temple. Agi Kishashvare Yaya Loka Nirvariyo Pachi Govinda Jaya Jala Karanalana. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple, Kashishvara walked in front to check the crowds of people. Govinda walked in the rear, bringing the sannyasi's pitcher filled with water. Purport: Karanga, a kind of water pot, carried by Mayavadi sannyasis and generally carried by all other sannyasis. Prabhura Puri Bharati Dukara Kamana Swarupa Dvaita Dukere Pashi Duvijana. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went towards the temple, Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Puri walked in front of him, and on his two sides walked Swarup Damodar and Advaita Acharya. Pachi Pachi Chali Yaya Ara Bhaktagana Utkantati Gela Shaba Jagannath Bhavana. With great eagerness, all of the devotees followed them into the temple of Lord Jagannath. Darshana Lopeti Kari Mayadi Langhana Bojamanda Piyana Kari Sri Mukunda Darshana. Out of the great eagerness to see the Lord, they all neglected the regulatory principles just to see Lord Jagannath's face. They went to the place where the food was offered. Purport: there are many regulations, there are many regulatory principles of deity worship. For example, one is not allowed to enter the room where the food is being offered to Lord Jagannath. But in this case, being either eager because of not having seen Lord Jagannath for 15 days, all of the people overruled the regulatory principles and entered into the room. Spontaneous devotional service. Not caring for the rules, we just got to see Lord Jagannath. Therefore the rules are obstructing. One should disregard, right? Rupa Goswami, we just read that. If it's unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, we reject it. So the rules were unfavorable because they were restricting them. So they all rushed in, broke the rule. Also, one time Mahaprabhu said to Advaitacharya that, what did you do today, Advaitacharya? Same as I do every day. I wake up in the morning, I do my ablutions, I go down and I come to see you, and Lord Jagannath, and then I come to see you. So tell me again, a little bit more detail. I do my morning duties, and then I come down and I see Lord Jagannath, and I circumambulate 5 or 7 times. Then I come and see you. Mahaprabhu said, yes, Advaita, I defeated you. I defeated you. So Advaita said, maybe you defeated me. Please tell me how you defeated me. And Mahaprabhu said, no, because you said that when you came and you went to see Jagannath, and then you circumambulated 5 or 7 times around Jagannath. He said, when I went to see Jagannath, you circumambulated him 5 or 7 times on your left side, But when I saw Jagannath, I didn't see left, I didn't see right, I didn't see. All I saw was these big, big, beautiful eyes of Lord Jagannath. That's all I saw. So he disregarded the rule of circumambulating the deity because he didn't want to take his eyes off Jagannath. Jagannath Swami ki jai.
When one reaches that level of devotion, paying obeisances and doing parikrama is not needed.
You can do or you cannot do, as you like. If it's custom and people like you to do it, you can do it in a sense. Otherwise you're not obligated. Like Pundarik, and when they went to see Arun Shashti, the day they had the winter clothing, a thicker cloth, for Jagannath, the cold season is starting. So they observed that festival. Then as they were leaving, the devotees going to their respective services, and Swarup Damodar and Pundarik Vidyanidhi were walking home together, and they were discussing, how come they dressed Jagannath with that new cloth? It's got starch. New cloth, they put some rice or something to make it stiff. It has starch on it. And they're offering that. The Shastra says it's impure. If you touch unwashed cloth, you have to wash your hands. The Shastra says it's... And so Sri Dhamma says, it's a tradition they have here. There's nothing wrong. Jagannath is supreme proprietor of everything. He knows everything. And that's okay. Jagannath, it's okay for him to do. I'm wondering about the servants. They seem to have starch dress. Even the king, I think he has a starch pagri. He said that's okay, and Jagannath he can do it, but I'm talking about the devotees. They all become Brahman because they've taken up residence in Jagannath Puri. So like this they were arguing and laughing. And Jagannath came that night and he started to slap Pundarik. You don't like the way my service is going on? No, I adorned this festival to go on. Now you're saying it's not proper? You're thinking that in our... we don't follow the religious sentiments here? Yeah, you go back to your own country. You can go back there. If we're not following properly here, if you think we're not following all the rules, you go back to your own country. Yeah, so Jagannath, he can break rules, and his devotees break rules sometimes also. There's a very famous devotee of Lord Jagannath. He used to cook. He's a pujari. He used to cook some khichdi for breakfast, and then he would offer to. He had a picture of Jagannath or Jagannath, small deity, in his house. So he was cooking khichdi and in his house, and then he would offer to Jagannath deity. And he was late one day, and so the head pujari went and said, "Why are you so late? The services, nobody's coming for your service." Then he saw that he was still cooking his khichdi for his breakfast. And he would offer it to Jagannath, then he would take it. And by this time he was cooking and he was cleaning his teeth. He had a dantakashta, the toothstick, cleaning his teeth. So the head pujari said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" You're cooking, you haven't, maybe he's not taking bath, and he's cleaning his teeth in one hand, and then you're going to cook for your deity. It's all wrong. So then later on, when they were serving breakfast, the Lord Jagannath didn't accept it. They have a system. They put the water in their hand, and they see the reflection of Jagannath. That means he'll accept it. Foodstuffs. And one time, quite a long time ago, 15 years maybe, Pujari offered it, but he couldn't see the reflection. So he told the head Pujari, look, I can't see any. So he said, okay, take everything out. Well, the bhoga, bury it. Must be some contamination there. So they took all the bhogas out and they were burying it. And then when I was throwing all the rice into the pit, they saw one fish bone was inside. Fish bone. Someone else got in the book.
Vegetarian fish. Vegetarian fish.
Bhakta fish. But Padma Purana says you can eat. Eating fish in Puri is like eating habish. Habisha. Pure food, purified food. It's like eating habish. When you're doing some puja, some special thing, you fast and you just eat that habish. It's just rice and urad dal. No.
Boiled rice and dal.
Boiled rice and dal. When you're performing ceremonies, so you should.
Austerity.
Yeah, the Padma Purana said eating fish in Puri is like eating habish. Means it's purified. Is it pure or not? Are they dambashes? Are they impure? The fish? Anyway, Mahaprabhu, he didn't take. So he showed us the example there.
It's very tasty.
So, anyway, oh yeah, this bhakti, his name may have been Kama Das, I'm not sure. But anyway, then the pujaris, they're not eating the bhoga, so generally there's some discrepancy, then the king sits in meditation for Jagannath. And then usually Jagannath sends a message, dictation, to the head pujari. And they said, "What, Jagannath, why you are not eating?" And Jagannath said, "Well, you told my pujari that he shouldn't be cleaning his teeth when he's doing the cooking. So I'm not eating. I like that. I like that every day I was getting that his prasadam. I like that. But you told me to stop. You told my pujari to stop. So he's not eating, I'm not eating. I'm waiting." So you better go and call him back. Call him back. Come on, hurry up, take your bath and cook for Jagannath. Then when he cooked for Jagannath, then Jagannath ate. So these beyond all the rules and regulations. Chashrata Prabhu Netra Brahmara Jugla Gada Trishnaya Paik Krishnara Bandhana Kamala. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very thirsty to see Lord, and his eyes became like two bumblebees, drinking the honey from the lotus-like eyes of Lord Jagannath, who is Krishna himself. is the pre-darshan making. There's a gate there. Just before the main darshan, there's another darshan. And there's a gate there. And I think they allow a certain amount of people to come in there. But there's a big commotion going on around the gate. Everybody's right. They want some ticket or whatever it is. A commotion around that gate. I see. So the devotees of Puri, they're all anxious to see Jagannath. So their love for Jagannath is astonishing, these Puri Vasis. Just like the old lady, she stood on Mahaprabhu's shoulder to get darshan. What are you doing? Come down here. No, look at her enthusiasm. I wish I had half of that enthusiasm. Yeah, to see Krishna again after all that time. Yeah, they love Jagannath so much that nothing can stop them when they want to see. One time the devotees went to and ordered the Jagannath Mahaprasad. A group of Italian devotees. So they said, you bring it to our hotel, we'll take Jagannath Prasadam there. So the Pandits brought the Prasadam, and all the devotees were sitting down with plates, and they're waiting for Jagannath Prasadam. And there's some big arguments are going on, and shouting that, hey, what's happening down there? Come on, serve Prasadam. So there's a arguing going on, and so then someone asked, what's the problem there? What's the problem down there? They said that we're not serving the prasadam, because the Pandits like to serve also. He said, we're not serving prasad because you've got food on the plate already. And they said, that's not food, that's Mahaprasad of Radha Damodar in our ISKCON temple. They said, no, that's food. We're not going to put it on the Jagannath's prasad where there is already food. No, this is Radha Damodar Mahaprasad. It's not Mahaprasadam. There's only one prasadam in Puri. So finally they relented, no. And let them put the prasadam on Radha Krishna's prasad also. So much love.
I heard one story that from Caitanya Caritamrita that when you went to inside Jagannath Puri, you were attempting to go, they pushed you back. But you got prasadam from someone and offered it to the same guard, and he respectfully accepted it. He may not like you, but he likes the prasadam. Is it true?
It's true, but maybe mixed up a little bit. No, the first time I went to Puri, so I didn't know anything about it, because I wasn't a devotee. And I just walked into the temple. I was quite happy to see the big temple. And all of a sudden, boom! I bet he was a policeman, guard. Boom! I jumped back. I was furious. What are you doing? You can't come in here. I said, you think God only lives in a brown skin and a bit of white paint on the face? I was furious. And I thought, anyway, I'll get you. I'm going to go around the other gate. So I went around the next gate. The guards saw me, they come running up. I ran the other side. I went to all the 4 gates, but they were there, all the guardsmen. What was the other part?
Prasadam. We got some Jagannath Prasadam.
Oh, yeah. At the Lion's Gate, we were waiting, so we asked one Panda, can you bring us, give him some money? We said, can you bring some prasadam or Jagannath? And we were just waiting there, and then there was another couple of Jagannath devotees. But they were they were making fun of us because we were 2 sahibs. They were kind of looking at us. It felt like, they're saying they're sahibs, uncultured people and things like that. Whatever. And so then the prasadam come out. Panda gave prasadam. And immediately took some, and I went over to those 2 guys who were saying things. Jagannath Mahaprasad. Oh yes. Take. Immediately they took prasad from me. And previous to that, I estimated they were just like making a bit of fun of us. But even though prasad had come from the Balachas, they didn't hesitate to take it. Okay? Jagannath Swami ki jai. Sri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai. Vidhai Go Premanandi.